Keeping the interest of the game in mind and also the cleanup of the BCCI. The court has also given the go-ahead for IPL Season 7. Remember, all the teams have also been allowed to go ahead and play in the next season. What happens to Mahendra Singh Dhoni and his conflict of interest vis-a-vis his position in ICL? We'll have to wait and see. After the present duration of the IPL, after the next season, the Vice President of the BCCI, Shivlal Yadav, will take charge. Gavaskar has been given the authority to take charge in matters of the IPL and also decide on what to do about India Cement's companies, employees being part of IPL affairs. All non-IPL related affairs to be handled by the BCCI Vice President later. So what we can say is that, Boria, again, it's not very clear right now, but you feel that if the position given to Sunil Gavaskar is interim president, then that means that Srinivasan is completely out.
But at the same time, it's not clear. I mean, I keep saying this that we don't know. There are several grey areas left here. Sunil Gavaskar has been empowered to decide on India Cement's employees. What does that mean for Mahendra Singh Dhoni, for Sundar Raman, for several other people? We don't know. Now, obviously, it will be upon Sunil Gavaskar to decide on whether there is an issue of conflict of interest, because that is the argument that the Supreme Court has left to him. From what we clearly understand, that there cannot be two presidents in one particular organization at one particular point in time. If Sunil Gavaskar is interim president, which is what the Supreme Court has said, then obviously Mr. Srinivasan is out. Because last year, Jagmohan Dalmia was not president. At no point in time was he the president of the BCCI. Every paper was being signed by Mr. Srinivasan as president. So clearly the Supreme Court has made that amply clear. For how long? Mr. Gavaskar is there till June 1st. What happens after June 1st? And what happens before June 1st with non-IPL related matters? Take the ICC. The ICC Executive Board is meeting in Dhaka on 9th and 10th of April. Now Shivlal Yadav has been empowered to do that. Now will Shivlal Yadav be president to decide if he represents, or can he send Srinivasan? Will he send Srinivasan? What signal will that go out? Does that mean that Mr. Srinivasan is still in control? There are 2,000 questions unanswered, Shivani, because Mr. Gavaskar's responsibility, as all of us have read, is only related to the IPL. Now clearly, Shivlal Yadav has been empowered for non-IPL related matters. What happens to the ICC? What happens to the other issues that BCCI is concerned about? We don't know. Maybe on the 16th of April, the Supreme Court will throw further light. But as Justice Mudgal said, the players' interests have been protected. But there again, Sunil Gavaskar has now to decide all these players who are part of India Cement, can they play, or should they have to resign from India Cements in order to take part in the IPL?
Yes, Nikhil, it's a crown of thorns in a way for Sunil Gavaskar, isn't it? Because even if he doesn't have charge of all the affairs of the BCCI, he has the charge of the IPL affairs, and the court has very clearly said he will decide what to do about ICL employees related with IPL affairs. And he will have to take some measures which is what the public sentiment wants right now, and actually be seen to be cleaning up the mess which is very deep rooted in the IPL functioning.
Well, without a doubt, and with the kind of experience and the kind of reputation that Mr. Gavaskar has, I'm sure he'll be looking to clean up whatever mess that is there to be cleaned up in the IPL, if any. And apart from that, Shivani, the big question, the ICL, you have some people, India Cements employees, who are the non-players issue. I don't think there's going to be an issue for him to take a decision on that. But as regard to some of the players, don't forget, of course, there's Mahendra Singh Dhoni. There are some of the other players, people like Dinesh Karthik and some of the other younger players from Tamil Nadu. Because India Cements are part of the league also, there are lots of these Tamil Nadu players who are playing Ranji Trophy and also part of the BCCI. So in that regard, I think they will be allowed to continue as players, because you cannot stop the players because they have their jobs. It's like you're working for any other public sector company or any other company. So in that regard, I don't think Mr. Gavaskar would be going that route to stop the players from playing.
But at least the officials will be asked to take...
I won't be surprised, because don't forget, come the 16th of April, my whole reading, if I'm reading between the lines, the probe is yet to be decided, and I think that's going to be the most important thing.
Let's actually go across to Jaskirat Singh Bawa, my colleague who was there inside the Supreme Court. Jaskirat, can you clarify two things for us? First of all, if Sunil Gavaskar and Shivlal Yadav take charge of the BCCI, does that mean that N. Srinivasan is out of his position, or does that mean he is only stepping aside? That is first. And secondly, what happens as far as other employees of ICL are concerned, whether they're in IPL functioning or BCCI functioning?
Well, to answer your first question first, this is an interim order. That's the keyword. It's an interim arrangement for the duration of which this case is actually ongoing in the Supreme Court. The larger question of investigation and the probe, which the guest was on the panel was just talking about reading between the lines, is still open for debate in the Supreme Court. And the next date of hearing for that is April 16th. But for the sake of the IPL season, the Supreme Court has made an interim arrangement or an interim order so that the IPL goes on and all the cricket lovers of the country get to watch it in the words of Justice Patnaik, who passed the order. They're only for the duration of the IPL season. For IPL affairs, Gavaskar will be in charge, and for non-IPL BCCI affairs, Shivlal Yadav will be in charge. So it is pretty much in line with what the BCCI and N. Srinivasan had offered yesterday, is for Srinivasan not to step down but to step aside. So in a manner, it is exactly what the offer was made for yesterday, when the BCCI said that Srinivasan will just step aside till the time a Supreme Court arrives at a proper judgment or a ruling in this case as to about the probe to be ordered and about the conflict of interest which is being alleged by the petitioners. About the second question about the India Cements employees in the IPL framework or the BCCI framework, as far as IPL season is concerned, there were allegations made by the petitioner about some India Cement employees having a conflict of interest because they were also office bearers and in charge of the IPL tournament. Now, in this regard, Gavaskar will take the final call as per the Supreme Court orders. Gavaskar, as the interim IPL chief or the interim IPL in charge, will be the person taking a final call on those people who are associated with India Cements as well as the IPL.
All right, Borya, I have one question for you. People are raising this issue that the IPL has its own governing council. Does the BCCI president or even the interim president have any roles to play there?
Correct. No, he has. According to the IPL's constitution and the BCCI constitution, the BCCI president is an ex officio member of all committees of the BCCI. But what happens to Ranjiv Biswal? I mean, this order basically says Sunil Gavaskar is the be-all and end-all of IPL. He will decide whether India Cements employees are involved or not. He will decide everything with relation to the IPL. So what happens to Ranjiv Biswal and the 5-member governing council? Has that governing council been rendered redundant? You know, and again, I was very keenly listening to Jaskirat Singh Bawa. So this order is basically till April 16th.
Yeah.
It is still the functioning because the IPL starts on April 16th. So actually the Supreme Court has not said anything. Actually the Supreme Court has not said anything about the probe. What it has said, by saying that Mr. Gavaskar will continue in his position till the end of IPL, it has kept all options open. It has kept the option of Mr. Srinivasan going for all times to come open. It has kept the option of stepping aside open. It has kept the option of a probe open. It has kept every option open for the next date of hearing, which is April 16th, where I'm sure both parties will once again start, alleging each other on all the issues. This order is actually just an interim order which makes the IPL go on, makes Mr. Srinivasan's position redundant as far as the BCCI is concerned for the time being, empowers Mr. Gavaskar to take all calls, clearly putting the IPL governing council in a bit of a spot because you don't need Ranjiv Biswal if Mr. Gavaskar is all powerful. 4, by nominating Mr. Gavaskar as interim president, it actually now has made it very complex whether the BCCI has 2 presidents. If it is stepping aside, then what is Mr. Srinivasan's status and what is Mr. Gavaskar's status? Finally, what happens to ICC? The executive committee meeting of the ICC is on 9-10th April in Dhaka, and Mr. Srinivasan is supposed to take over or chair it. Shivlal Yadav is now empowered. Will Shivlal Yadav send Mr. Srinivasan, nominate Mr. Srinivasan, or will he say no, under current circumstances he will go? Because ultimately it's not about Srinivasan, it's about a BCCI nominee. So several questions are unanswered on the basis of this order, and perhaps we have to wait till 16th of April to get further clarification.
All right, let me also go across to Srisha Reddy, who's been tracking N. Srinivasan's movements for 3 to 4 days now. Srisha, what is it looking like right now? Can we expect Mr. Srinivasan to at least now come and give some sort of a statement to the media?
Shivan, is very unlikely that Srinivasan will step out to give any comment on this, because then now he has not been talking to the media. He has been keeping away from the media. Even when the Supreme Court had observed that Srinivasan should step aside for a fair investigation, he did not speak to the media. And we have been stationed outside Srinivasan's house for the past 3 days. There is absolutely no word from Srinivasan or either Srinivasan's camp on this. But on the other hand, now which is the Supreme Court has come down very heavily, and it's a huge embarrassment, of course, huge blow for N. Srinivasan at this point in time, because he should have done it. He should have stepped down on moral grounds, even when the sports scam had broken out and Gurunath Mayappan, his son-in-law, was arrested. He did not step down. He was waiting to somebody to tell him to step down. So now the Supreme Court has done it. So it's a very clear indication that he's of course in under tremendous pressure as far as this issue is concerned. And of course there is absolutely no word from Srinivasan. So we will be trying to track down to Srinivasan to at least get a word, what he has to say, what is his statement right now is. But absolutely no word from Srinivasan.
All right. On that note, we're going to thank all our guests and reporters for keeping track of these developments.